The automotive industry has a dirty secret, and it is sitting right at the corner of every major intersection in America. You already know that the car you drive matters. But here is the thing. The fuel you pump into that car might be quietly destroying it from the inside out, and nobody at the pump is going to warn you. Here is the brutal reality. Not all gasoline is created equal. While every station in the country pulls fuel from the same network of pipelines and refineries, what happens after that crude becomes gasoline is where the story gets ugly. We are talking about detergent additive packages, the chemical cocktails that either clean your fuel injectors and intake valves or slowly coat them in carbon deposits that choke your engine to death over 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 miles. The Environmental Protection Agency sets a minimum detergent standard, and get this, some of the biggest, most recognizable names in American gas station culture do nothing more than meet that bare minimum. Translation: they are legally selling you fuel that is technically roadworthy but mechanically corrosive over time. Meanwhile, a handful of brands have invested millions into what the industry calls top-tier detergent certification, a voluntary standard that requires 5 times the EPA minimum additive concentration. 5 times. And the difference shows up in your engine's long-term health in ways your dealership absolutely will not explain to you. Stick around until the end, because the final brand on our avoid list is one that is sitting in nearly every American suburb, and the data on what it does to direct injection engines is genuinely alarming. The avoid list number 5, Speedway. Let's start with Speedway, a Midwest and East Coast staple that was acquired by 7-Eleven back in 2021 for nearly $21 billion. And here is where it gets truly interesting, or rather truly disappointing. Speedway does not carry top-tier certification. In a post-acquisition environment where the parent company is primarily focused on convenience retail margins and loyalty app engagement, fuel quality investment has not been a stated priority. The real kicker is that Speedway's own branding leans heavily into competitive pricing, which is exactly how a station signals to the informed consumer that additive packages are being trimmed to protect margin. Independent engine teardown studies and long-term fleet analyses have consistently shown that non-top-tier fuels accelerate carbon buildup on intake valves, particularly brutal on direct injection engines where fuel never washes the back of the valve. For a GDI engine on a steady diet of Speedway regular, you are looking at potential carbon cleaning service costs ranging from $300 to $1,000 before you even hit 100,000 miles. Bottom line, the few cents per gallon you save are being quietly invoiced to your engine. But if you think Speedway's additive situation is bad, the next brand has a geographic footprint that makes it nearly impossible to avoid in certain states, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Number 4, QuikTrip, regional non-top-tier variants. Now this one requires nuance, and MotorMind is going to give it to you straight. QuikTrip operates in roughly 11 states and has a devoted following for its clean stores and efficient service. Here is the thing. QuikTrip holds top-tier certification in many of its markets. However, fuel quality can vary by supply chain and regional contract, and the brand's inconsistency across franchise-adjacent distribution models means you cannot always guarantee what grade of additive package you are getting. The data dump matters here. AAA conducted a landmark study finding that non-top-tier gasoline caused 69% more intake valve deposits than top-tier alternatives after just 4,000 miles of simulated driving, 69%. For an engine running regular GDI cycles, that is not a small margin. That is the difference between a clean combustion chamber and one that looks like the inside of a charcoal grill. The consumer impact is simple. If you are in a QuikTrip market and you cannot verify that specific location's top-tier status, treat it as a non-certified pump. Translation: your engine cannot tell the difference between an honest gas station and a corner-cutting one. Only your fuel additive certificate can. Now we move into territory that is going to surprise a lot of viewers. A brand with enormous national visibility that has been coasting on nostalgia while quietly delivering substandard fuel chemistry. Number 3, Murphy USA. Murphy USA operates over 1,700 locations, almost exclusively in Walmart parking lots. It is the definitive convenience fill-up. You're already there? The price is low? Why not? Here is why not. Murphy USA is not top-tier certified, and the Walmart-adjacent high-volume, low-margin business model tells you everything you need to know about where fuel quality sits in the priority stack. Murphy's competitive advantage is pure price disruption. They undercut competitors by anchoring to Walmart's real estate and foot traffic. The additive investment required for top-tier certification costs money that the Murphy model structurally cannot absorb without undermining its only value proposition. And get this, Murphy USA serves an enormous segment of price-sensitive consumers who are disproportionately likely to own older, higher mileage vehicles where carbon buildup compounds existing mechanical stress. The real kicker is that the customers most likely to fill up at Murphy are the customers whose engines can least afford the long-term damage. That is not an accident of the market. That is the market working exactly as designed against the uninformed consumer. This is the sub and like moment. If this kind of data is new to you, hit that subscribe button right now. We do this research so you do not have to. The next brand might be the one that hurts the most, because it sits under a corporate umbrella that many consumers associate with quality. Number 2. Circle K. Circle K is a global convenience retail giant, over 14,000 locations across North America, owned by Alimentation Couche-Tard, a Canadian conglomerate with revenues north of $60 billion annually. With that kind of institutional weight, you would assume fuel quality is a top-tier priority. You would be wrong. Circle K does not hold blanket top-tier certification across its network. Individual locations may source from certified suppliers depending on the regional supply chain, but there is no system-wide commitment to the 5 times EPA minimum additive standard. For a brand operating at this scale, that is not a logistics problem. That is a choice. The technical specificity here matters. Modern turbocharged GDI engines, your Ford EcoBoost, your Chevrolet turbos, your Volkswagen TSI engines, are particularly vulnerable to carbon fouling because of their direct injection architecture. Fuel is never introduced upstream of the intake valve, meaning detergent additives in the gasoline itself cannot clean the back of the valve. Without premium additive packages doing maximum work in the combustion chamber, deposit accumulation accelerates. At Circle K's price-driven model, you are essentially paying for the privilege of running a slow-motion engine cleaning service in reverse. Bottom line, scale without quality commitment is just scale. The brand that appears in more American driveways, more suburban fill-ups, and more road trips than any other non-certified station in the country. Number 1. Wawa, non-top-tier markets. This is going to be controversial. Wawa has a cult following that approaches religious devotion in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. The stores are clean, the staff is friendly, the hoagies are genuinely good. But here is the brutal truth about Wawa fuel. Wawa does not carry universal top-tier certification. In a segment where brand loyalty is earned through product quality, Wawa's fuel program has historically leaned into price competitiveness rather than chemistry leadership. For an engine running primarily on mid-Atlantic commutes, stop-and-go, short trips, frequent cold starts, the GDI carbon buildup scenario is not hypothetical. It is cumulative and quiet, building up over tens of thousands of miles until your vehicle starts misfiring, your fuel economy drops, and your mechanic hands you an invoice that feels like it came out of nowhere. The Wawa example is the most important one on this list precisely because of the loyalty factor. When you trust a brand for everything else, you stop questioning its fuel. And that is exactly when non-certified gasoline does its most effective, most invisible damage. The real kicker is that Wawa's cult status is its greatest liability to the informed consumer. It weaponizes trust against engine health. Community question: have you noticed performance changes after switching fuel brands? Drop your experience in the comments. We want to build a real data set from real drivers. The trust list number 5. Costco gasoline. Costco does not run a traditional gas station. It runs a fuel loss leader designed to drive membership renewals and warehouse visits. But here is the thing. Costco holds top-tier certification across its entire network. Their Kirkland signature fuel meets and exceeds the 5 times EPA minimum detergent standard. And because Costco's business model runs on membership fees rather than fuel margin, they can absorb quality additive costs that conventional stations structurally cannot. Fleet operators and high-mileage drivers have quietly known this for decades. But Costco requires a membership. The next brand gives you top-tier quality with zero barrier to entry. Number 4. Chevron. Chevron's Techron additive package is the gold standard of detergent chemistry in the American fuel market. Techron, polyether amine-based, has been independently validated in peer-reviewed engine studies to reduce intake deposit formation, clean fuel injectors, and improve combustion efficiency even in engines that were previously run on non-certified fuel. Translation: fill up at Chevron, and Techron starts doing remediation work on damage caused by lesser stations. Chevron holds top-tier certification universally across its retail network. The long-term engine health data from fleet operators running exclusively on Techron-grade fuel shows measurably lower carbon service costs over 100,000 miles. This is not marketing. This is chemistry doing its job. Number 3. Shell's V-Power Nitro Plus formulation. contains nitrogen-enriched cleaning compounds at concentrations that Shell claims are 40% higher than the top-tier requirement, which is already 5 times the EPA minimum. The compounding math here is significant. Shell has invested over 40 years into additive research and has the published engine studies to back it up. For turbocharged GDI engines specifically, Shell's additive package provides meaningful protection against the carbon fouling that makes modern direct injection engines so vulnerable to substandard fuel. Number 2. Mobil/ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil's Synergy fuel platform covers both the Exxon and Mobil branded networks and carries top-tier certification system-wide. The Synergy detergent formulation targets 3 specific failure points: fuel injector deposits, intake valve deposits, and combustion chamber deposits. For a high-mileage driver putting 30,000 or more miles per year on a vehicle, the difference between Synergy-grade fuel and minimum standard fuel accumulates into a measurable engine health gap by the time you hit the 100,000-mile mark. And get this, ExxonMobil's fleet contract data, used by commercial operators running everything from delivery vans to law enforcement vehicles, consistently shows lower fuel system service intervals compared to non-top-tier fleets. Bottom line, commercial operators know things retail consumers are never told. Number 1. Chevron Texaco sits under the Chevron umbrella and shares the Techron additive platform, which makes it the number 1 recommendation on this list for one specific reason: accessibility combined with chemistry leadership. Texaco locations extend the Techron network into markets where standalone Chevron retail is sparse. For the consumer who wants the gold standard of fuel detergency without hunting for a Chevron location, Texaco delivers the exact same additive package under a different sign. The real kicker is that Texaco's pricing is competitive with non-top-tier stations in most markets. You are not paying a quality premium to protect your engine. You are getting bulletproof fuel chemistry at street-level pricing. For a GDI engine, a turbocharged 4-cylinder, or any modern direct injection platform, that is not a minor consideration. That is the single most cost-effective engine preservation decision you can make at the consumer level. Here is the bottom line. The American fuel market is a 2-tier system hiding in plain sight. On one side, you have stations that meet the government's minimum and call it a day, collecting your money while carbon quietly coats your intake valves, fouls your injectors, and schedules your engine for a $300 cleaning service you never anticipated. On the other side, you have certified brands that have made a genuine technical investment in fuel chemistry, brands whose additive packages actively protect and remediate the combustion systems you depend on every single day. The difference between these two groups is not dramatic at any single fill-up. That is precisely what makes it so dangerous. The damage is cumulative, invisible, and perfectly designed to show up right after your warranty expires. Here is the thing. Dealerships have no financial incentive to tell you which fuel brands are destroying your engine slowly. They make money on the service visit. Your job as a consumer is to make decisions that keep you out of the service bay. Check the top-tier gasoline website. It is publicly available, free, and lists every certified brand by region. Bookmark it, use it, and remember, the cheapest fuel at the pump is never the cheapest fuel for your engine. Hit subscribe if you want the truth about what the automotive and fuel industry is not telling you in 2026. We will keep doing the research so you never have to find out the hard way.